So we've probably heard about the Pharisees, the Scribes, the Sadducees, but maybe the Bible is portraying them as bad people, the antagonists in every story and all of that. But in a way, if we take a closer deep dive into these three categories of people, we get to realize that it's actually deeper than we think. First of all, let's start off with the Sadducees. Now, a lot of people make fun of this and actually call them sad you see, if you get the joke. So the idea is the Sadducees are actually from the children of Levi, and they only take the first 5 books of Moses. So they are called Sadducees, and they don't believe in resurrection, angels, and all of that. They just take the first 5 books, which is really interesting because when the Scribes and Pharisees and all of those were trying to condemn Jesus, trying to find a way to catch him in his thoughts, the Sadducees, who deny that there are angels of resurrection, asked God about the question about the woman who had 7 husbands. The story is funny, but they did anyway. So they asked in the resurrection whose wife we should be, since she had 7 of them. The interesting fact is, Jesus did not just answer the question by saying that in the resurrection they did not marry nor are given in marriage, but as the angels of heaven. He also told them that God said he is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. By saying that, he's telling the Sadducees that there is resurrection, and that those who died will resurrect. So he's using the books that they chose to obey, to follow, and show to them that them denying resurrection is actually not right. That's a very, very wise response. Secondly, we have the Pharisees. Now, the Pharisees are just this category of people who, teach in the synagogue. They know the scriptures, they read the scriptures a lot, they pray a lot, they fast a lot, and very religious set of people. But in the eyes of the people at that time, these are people that deserve respect because they know the law. And by knowing the law, I mean they debate the law. I mean, it's very common, very normal to debate the law. And unlike the Sadducees, they believe in the law, they believe in the prophets, so they believe in resurrection, angels, and all of that. So yeah, they are basically like, let's just say, pastors you can find around today, apart from the fact that they are religious. John the Baptist called them vipers, and a lot of people believe that John the Baptist really didn't like them, but the truth of the matter is, even Jesus himself condemned them, called them hypocrites. So it's not out of hatred that John the Baptist said that he was saying the truth. So these are religious people who know the law and are so much into the law that sometimes they just fill in the gap with some things just to make sure they get to understand it. For example, they added things like the Messiah would be a military leader who would deliver them from Romans, and some other things like that. But anyways, they do a lot of debate on the law. And let's not forget, I think it's the Sadducees who asked the question, what is the greatest commandment? It's very likely that this is one of their greatest debates as at that period, before he learned about love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might, and love your neighbor as yourself. Which in a way actually means love God with your body, soul, and spirit, and love your neighbor as yourself. Not like it's 2 commandments, it's like 1 commandment divided into 2. Then we have the third group, we call them the Scribes. There was no printer in those days, so the Scribes are basically those who, write out the full scriptures, the full copy. And imagine writing out the whole book, not reading it, just writing it out. What do you expect? you would know the law a lot, but the scribes were a little bit different. They just with these Pharisees and just live their religious lives. And it's quite interesting to know that not all Pharisees were actually against Jesus. We have Nicodemus in John chapter 3, and surprisingly we have Paul the Apostle. Yes, Paul was a Pharisee. He was trained under Gamaliel. I don't know if I pronounced it well. So yeah, he was a Pharisee. He knew the law, and if you've read his letters, from Romans to Hebrews, arguably, he was very intellectual, and by the grace of the Holy Spirit, he really did a lot. I think like more than half of the New Testament. So that's really amazing. So yeah, a lot of Pharisees were against Jesus. A lot of them believed, but they didn't want to publicly accept him. Why? Some, like Nicodemus, had to meet him by night, as I said in John chapter 3. So why am I saying all this? Well, I just want to show us that no matter how much we know the scriptures, God really surprises. He surprised the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the scribes when the Messiah was born in Bethlehem, when God gave us the bread of life in a manger where animals' food are kept, when Jesus had to run away to Egypt because Herod wanted to kill all the children from 2 years and below. A lot of that wasn't expected by them. But if you look at it a lot, Jesus really did fulfill the prophecy upon him. And he actually drew a lot of parallel, a lot in the Bible. So we should just be open-minded. God can surprise us. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be guarded in the scriptures. At least Paul the Apostle knew the scriptures a lot. He was grounded in it. And on the bright side, we get to read a lot of his letters. So the takeaway is, know the scriptures, but don't try to act smarter than God. Don't be like the scribes and Pharisees and Sadducees. Be like Jesus. Thank you.